There's people sleeping on the canal when we should be providing better services for everybody, better than having people sleep rough on the streets. It's unacceptable. It shouldn't be happening. And we need voices in Europe demanding that change.
Claire, just to bring you in on this, I mean, there has been, like, across the board, there has been differing views on this EU migration pact. But we've also heard from, you know, the likes of Oxfam, who describe it as representing a glimmer of hope that could provide a protection-centred approach to resettlement and for asylum seekers. What do you say to that? How does Europe grapple with this issue if you're opposed to, I suppose, a pact that's been about 8 years in the making?
Yeah, I mean, I think there are problems with the pact, and I think that the Oxfam would be in a minority in that most of the NGOs and most of the organisations working with refugees were absolutely devastated with the pact, with the securitisation of Europe's borders, with spending billions of money to authoritarian regimes outside in the likes of Egypt and Turkey and so on, to literally warehouse desperate people. Now, Europe is responsible in many ways through, you know, furthering wars, through climate change, through exploitation. Desperate people come here. But uniquely, Ireland is placed in Europe in that we do not have to be bound by this pact. We're the only country, because we're not in Schengen and because of our common travel area. We are adapting the pact because our government chose to do so. So the full responsibility of the migration debacle rests on the shoulder of the government and its representatives, who had a broken asylum system for years. When we were in the Dáil, going back in times, the direct provision and all that, they added on 100,000 Ukrainians with preferential treatment, pushed other people out, and now they're trying to catch up that and square the circle. It's an absolute disaster.
Well, I'm sorry, Claire.
Last week, when he very clearly said that the responsibility for the rise of the far right rests with the failure to deliver housing all across Europe. And I think that is a very relevant point. That is why we have the crisis that we have, because of the housing crisis. And I agree with Dahi. It suits the government to have this migration now, because the responsibility for that crisis rests with them.
So can I just briefly, Regina, actually, because we brought up the issue of housing. We don't have a huge amount of time, but I know it's probably the prevailing issue on the doorstep.